My queen, we've seen something strange.
The trailer for the House of the Dragon Season 3 finale just confirmed that every single thread this season has been building. Aemond's return to war, Hugh Hammer's simmering betrayal, Sunfyre's impossible survival, Rhaenyra's crumbling grip on a truth she does not yet know is a lie, and Alicent's walk into the most dangerous room in Westeros is going to collide inside a single August 9 episode written by Ryan Condal himself. Will Aemond Targaryen finally reunite with Vhagar and bring the largest living dragon in the world screaming back into a war that has been missing its most terrifying piece since Episode 2? Does Hugh Hammer's betrayal happen at Tumbleton before or after Daemon arrives? And does the answer determine whether Aemond and Daemon survive the first battle or die inside it? Is Sunfyre genuinely alive at Rook's Rest? And does the finale deliver the most devastating scene in the entire show's history? The one that readers of Fire and Blood have been dreading since the moment this series was announced? And does Rhaenyra discover Daemon's lie about Sheepstealer's rider before or after she has to fight Tumbleton? Because if she discovers it during the battle, the Black faction's command structure breaks apart at the worst possible moment. Every single one of those questions has an answer in this finale trailer, and this breakdown covers all of them. And if this is the House of the Dragon content fans want on this channel every single week, hitting subscribe right now, and the like button is the fastest way to make sure the Season 4 breakdown lands on the feed the moment it drops. Because what this finale sets up for Season 4 is going to keep the fandom running until 2028. The single most important image in the House of the Dragon Season 3 finale trailer is not Aemond with Blackfire raised in the dark of Harrenhal. It is not the walls of Tumbleton lit from below by a fire that is moving too fast to be anything other than dragonfire. It is not Sheepstealer roaring somewhere in the Riverlands against a sky that has turned the wrong color. It is Alicent Hightower walking toward her son's chamber at Harrenhal with the specific posture of a woman who has already decided what she is going to do and is only uncertain of whether she will be able to do it before he turns around. Everything about that image is wrong in the most precisely constructed way. Alicent has spent 3 seasons surviving by never moving directly toward danger, always working through intermediaries, always placing another body between herself and the consequence of the thing she wants done. She worked through Otto. She worked through Criston Cole. She worked through every political mechanism available to her before the mechanism ran out, and now there are no intermediaries left, and she is walking down a Harrenhal corridor alone with nothing between her and what she intends to do. The fact that she is walking alone toward Aemond, in Harrenhal, with Alice Rivers somewhere in the same castle, knowing exactly what Alicent intends. That image is the finale trailer's most chilling promise, not because Alicent is inherently dangerous, but because the show has now placed her in a room with a man who is, and given her only the element of surprise as a weapon. However, unfortunately, the element of surprise is exactly what Alice Rivers exists to remove. Alice has been building her hold over Aemond for 6 episodes, one carefully calibrated conversation at a time. She is not going to let his mother walk through the door she has spent half a season closing. The hope threaded through this finale trailer, and it is real, and it belongs specifically to the Blacks, is that the convergence happening at Tumbleton is not the catastrophe the Greens believe it to be. The evidence in the trailer points toward the first Battle of Tumbleton arriving in the finale, and the fan community has been tracking the mechanics of this battle from Fire and Blood, with the dual knowledge that what happens at Tumbleton is simultaneously the Greens' greatest military achievement and the beginning of their complete and irreversible unraveling. Hugh Hammer and Ulf the White, the Dragonseeds who ride Vermithor and Silverwing on behalf of Rhaenyra, switch sides during the battle. They do not simply defect and leave. They burn Tumbleton for themselves, turning 2 of the most powerful dragons in Westeros against the city they were deployed to defend and the army they were supposed to be fighting alongside. Aemond Hightower does not survive what comes next. The trailer's framing of Gwaine Hightower arriving at Tumbleton, the specific shot of him reading the position and understanding it before anyone else does, suggests the show intends to honor the horror of what happens to the Hightower family at Tumbleton rather than abbreviating it. Daemon's fate has been one of the most actively debated alterations in the show's translation from source material, because the season has spent genuine creative energy building Daemon as a character whose damage is visible and earned, rather than simply an off-screen name from a history book. The trailer's specific isolation of Daemon, small in the frame, surrounded by the consequences of choices Aemond made in his name, holding Targaryen's reins with an expression that contains everything a teenager learns in the first moment they understand that the adult who shaped them was never who they believed, suggests the show is not going to let Tumbleton be the event where his story simply stops. However, unfortunately, the source material is not generous to Daemon, and Ryan Condal writing the finale personally is both a guarantee of emotional precision and the clearest possible signal that no character in this episode will be protected from the consequences of what the season has built. The most likely explanation for Aemond's specific statement in the Episode 7 trailer, "A New Dawn is Coming," is that the finale delivers his reunion with Vhagar, and the show has been building that reunion across 5 episodes of deliberate withholding for precisely this moment, saving its biggest piece for the single highest-stakes hour available. The evidence is distributed across every scene Harrenhal has contained since Episode 2. Ewan Mitchell's performance has been running on 2 tracks simultaneously throughout this Harrenhal run. The physical recovery from the knife wound in his back and the psychological unraveling that Alice Rivers has been engineering one conversation at a time, peeling away Aemond's loyalty to his family and replacing it with something that serves her purposes rather than his. The finale trailer shows Aemond practicing with Blackfyre, not sitting, not resting, not watching through a window at a war that has been happening without him. Moving. The man who collapsed in Episode 2 is back on his feet and training with the specific economy of someone who has a destination already decided and is preparing his body to meet it. The only destination that carries the weight of a season finale, in a war that has been missing its most terrifying piece for 6 weeks, is Vhagar. Everything the show has withheld about Vhagar's location since Episode 2 has been in service of this moment. The largest living dragon in the world has been absent from the battlefield for a run of episodes that represents the longest gap in the entire Dance of the Dragons, and the finale is the only episode left where its return carries maximum impact. The most logical conclusion from the trailer's specific sequencing, Aemond training, Aemond saying, "A new dawn is coming," Tumbleton burning, is that Aemond finds Vhagar before that fire starts, and that the reunion happens in time to change what Tumbleton becomes. However, unfortunately, a reunited Aemond and Vhagar arriving at a battle already in progress, with Hugh Hammer and Ulf the White already burning for themselves, is not the clean military rescue the Greens need. It is a collision between 3 of the most dangerous dragons alive, above a city already on fire, with no clear chain of command left standing to direct any of it. The evidence strongly suggests that Sunfyre is alive at Rook's Rest, and that the Season 3 finale is the episode where the show finally confirms what the camera has been withholding since the moment Aegon was found in the ruins of that battle. The specific visual comparison Winter is Coming drew between Meleys's rotting corpse at Rook's Rest and Sunfyre's body has been the most structurally important piece of evidence available to fans reading the trailer. Meleys looks like death. Sunfyre, in every shot the show has provided, does not look like death. It looks like an extremely large animal that is deeply asleep and breathing. That is not the same thing, and the show has been making sure those 2 images cannot be confused with each other ever since Episode 4 first placed Aegon next to Sunfyre's enormous still form. Tom Glyn Carney's Aegon has spent 3 episodes at Rook's Rest, doing things, shovel labor, sleeping in the dirt, arguing with a local boss, and circling a dragon body with the specific certainty of a man who refuses to grieve what he does not believe is gone, that make no narrative sense unless the show is building toward Sunfyre opening one eye. The source material from Fire and Blood is unambiguous on this point. Sunfyre survives Rook's Rest. Aegon tends the dragon through its recovery. What Aegon and Sunfyre do together after that recovery is the most viscerally disturbing sequence in the entire history of Westeros, and every reader of the source knows exactly which scene is coming, the scene that readers describe with a single word and a silence after it. The finale trailer's inclusion of Aegon's storyline at Rook's Rest and the specific continued presence of Larys Strong, alongside a man who has nothing left to offer anyone, confirms that the show is not closing this thread, with Aegon fading into irrelevance. Larys is there, because Larys believes Aegon is going to matter again. And Larys has never been wrong about which way power is moving before it gets there. However, unfortunately, the specific way Aegon matters again in the source material requires Rhaenyra to win, then lose, in a sequence this season may be installing as a Season 4 delivery, rather than an Episode 8 one. The evidence also strongly suggests that Rhaenyra's confrontation with Helaena in the finale contains something the trailer is not yet showing, a specific vision, a specific piece of information about either Aemond's location, Sunfyre's condition, or the chain of events leading to Rhaenyra's worst moment. The show has used Helena's prophetic ability as a storytelling instrument since Season 2, and every time Rhaenyra sits across from Helaena about her visions, it is because the vision contains information the plot requires Rhaenyra to either act on or willfully ignore. The trailer frames this confrontation with Rhaenyra in a dominant position, reminding Helaena that she is queen and that family bonds do not supersede her authority as monarch. That framing matters precisely because Rhaenyra uses power to compel information that compassion would have given her freely, which is the kind of character choice Condell includes in finale scripts when the audience needs to understand that a character's pride is about to cost them something before the credits roll. What Helaena tells Rhaenyra in that room, or refuses to tell her, may be the most consequential single exchange in the finale. While the major explosive threads of the Episode 8 trailer dominate the conversation, there is a secondary character whose presence in the finale footage carries more accumulated dramatic weight than any individual action sequence. And that character is Aemond Targaryen. Matt Smith's Daemon has spent the second half of this season managing a lie of catastrophic scale. Rhaenyra killed Jace. Daemon knows it. The shepherd whose skull he brought to Rhaenyra as proof was an innocent bystander who happened to be in the wrong field at the wrong moment. And the wild dragon sheep-stealer is still out there with Rhaenyra still on its back, which means the lie is still alive and breathing just like Sunfyre. The difference is that nobody who knows about Sunfyre is in a position to use that information against the Blacks. Several people who know about Daemon's lie are. The finale trailer's treatment of Daemon is deliberate in its restraint. He appears, but in moments that feel like a man watching the foundation under everything he has built begin to shift. Mysaria does not believe the shepherd story. The show confirmed this with a single look in Episode 4 that the camera held long enough to make its meaning unmistakable. Mysaria is the character in this story, with the most information, the most access to Rhaenyra's ear, and the most personal motivation to decide when and how the truth lands. Whatever the finale does with Daemon's lie, the show has placed all the required pieces in all the required positions for the unraveling to happen at the specific moment it causes maximum structural damage, which is during the Battle of Tumbleton, when Rhaenyra needs to trust her husband and her chain of command completely, and cannot trust either. After everything the House of the Dragon Season 3 finale trailer has revealed, Aemond training at Harrenhal, and clearly moving toward a reunion with Vhagar, that the trailer is still technically withholding as its final visual promise, Alicent walking alone toward the most dangerous conversation of her life, Hugh Hammer's betrayal and the first Battle of Tumbleton, arriving with full source material weight, Sunfyre's confirmation at Rook's Rest, and what Larys Strong's continued presence signals about Aegon's trajectory, Helena's vision conversation with Rhaenyra, and what the Queen's use of authority, rather than compassion in that room costs her. And Daemon's lie approaching the moment where the person most capable of weaponizing it decides the time is right. The question every fan is now sitting with is not whether the finale delivers, but whether a single episode can deliver all of it without something getting abbreviated. Site index equals 31-1, Episode 8, written by Ryan Condell and T. Mikkel, and directed by Andrzej Perek, premieres August 9, 2026 on HBO and Max. Site index equals 36.9. Season 3 has a 92% score on Rotten Tomatoes, 8 points higher than Season 2. reflecting critical consensus that this season represents a genuine step forward in the quality and coherence of the show's storytelling. The finale is directed by Aemond Vhagar, whose visual control across the episodes he has helmed in this and previous seasons has made him the director the show consistently assigns to its most structurally significant hours. Condell writing the finale himself is the structural guarantee that the thematic threads he has been building across 8 episodes will be honored in their closing movement rather than subordinated to action logistics. Site index equals 35-1. The season opened with what Condell called arguably the craziest episode of television ever made, with the Battle of the Gullet, a statement that positioned the entire season as an escalation rather than a continuation. Based on what the trailer has confirmed, the finale is built to close at the same altitude. Season 4, the confirmed final chapter, is expected in 2028, and what this episode leaves unresolved will drive the fandom across the entire gap. Now the conversation moves to the fans, and there are 3 debates the finale trailer has ignited that are dividing the House of the Dragon community with the specific heat that only a season finale, the last episode before a 2-year gap, is capable of generating. First, does Aemond reunite with Vhagar in the finale episode itself, arriving at Tumbleton with the largest dragon alive at a moment when the battle is already consuming itself? Or does the show withhold the reunion entirely as the season's closing image, a final shot of Vhagar rising from wherever it has been sleeping, setting up Season 4, rather than delivering the source material's promised collision at Tumbleton? Second, does Alicent survive her walk toward Aemond's chamber at Harrenhal, or does the show bring its most complicated and long-running maternal relationship to an end, with the specific and brutal finality it has been moving toward since the moment Alice Rivers first put her lips close to Aemond's ear and started pulling the threads? And if Alicent dies in Episode 8, does Aemond know she came to kill him, or does he only know she came and grieve accordingly? And third, does Rhaenyra learn the truth about Daemon and Rhaena and Jace before or after the Battle of Tumbleton resolves? And if she learns it during the battle, does that discovery break the Black faction's war effort at its highest point, or does it produce the version of Rhaenyra that the source material requires her to become before the story can end? The video on screen covers every other thread fans need before August 9th, when House of the Dragon Season 3 finally ends on HBO and Max.